Jaden's 7 years old now. Jaden was born perfectly healthy. At 4 months old, Jaden had his first seizure. It was just a downhill road for the next few years. She's having 500 like twitching myoclonic seizures a day. He'd have grand mal for hour and a half. I remember he was crying from like 1 o'clock at night to like 9 in the morning, screaming, crying in pain. He was seeing things. He was hallucinating from the medications. At 4.5, Jaden was taking 22 pills a day. He was at 25,000 pills he had taken by the time he was 5 years old. Jaden had tried 12 different medications. We had 40 ambulances because we were fighting with the insurance companies all the time. We lost our house, we lost our cars, we lost our business, we lost our family. I went to UCSF. I said, look, I don't think Jaden's gonna make it another week. What do you suggest? They're all, I don't know. I mean, I would try anything. I go, what do you think about medical marijuana? They're all, well, like we said, you think we're at a life and death situation, you should try anything. So I said, all right. I went and picked up something I saw in a dispensary. Came home, I gave it to Jaden. After 4.5 years of having myoclonic seizures, 500 a day, and twitching and head drops and seizing, the first day I gave it to him was, thank God, 1 million times. It was the first day he's ever went seizure-free in his life. Then after that, second day, third day, fourth day, the seizures were down dramatically. I could see his eyes lighting up. It was summertime. It was June 1st, the first day I gave it to him, 2011. He started swimming. Jaden's never been able to swim before. The sudden temperature change of water would give him a seizure. When I put him in the front yard, and my neighbor's like, oh my gosh, we've never seen him in the front yard. They're so excited, they were cheering him on. I started weaning him off the medications after 1 month I was on the CBD. Every time I took him off, he would suffer for 2 weeks, and boom, he'd become more human. Then take off another pill, suffer for 2 weeks, boom, become more human. Jaden started chewing. Jaden was only eating Gerber food all the way till he was 5 years old. He started chewing. With taking 25,000 pills, it really wears on your body and brain, so it was kind of recovering more from the medications and from the epilepsy. And we decided to wean off the hardest one, benzodiazepines. He was having tremors, nightmares, brain zaps. I've contacted 30 different benzo withdrawal clinics. They go, how old is the person that's coming on that you want to bring into our clinic? And I tell them 7 years old. And they scream at the top of their lungs. Every single one vividly say the same exact thing. You have a 7-year-old on benzos? Because we have people here that are football players. We have people here that are big, tough guys that are dying, literally dying from benzos, and you have a 7-year-old on it? I said, 7-year-old? My son's been addicted to it since he's 16 months old. So now we have to figure out a way to wean him off by ourselves because the benzo detox clinics are not willing to take in a 7-year-old. Since we've been using the CBD, he's been doing amazing. It has under 1% THC, so it doesn't give you that euphoria. Second thing is it's abstracted, it's organic, we know the dosaging, the milligrams. We're in the forefronts of something huge. It's either you're gonna give up and just let your child be a vegetable and die, or you're gonna sit there and fight. I still haven't met Jaden yet. I know Jaden in 22 pills, but I'm down to Jaden in 2 pills. That's who I know right now. I don't know Jaden, but on medication. Christmas before Jaden was born, that was my Christmas gift, was that Jaden was gonna be born. My ex-wife had to give me a box. I opened it and I remember, it's a hard one. I remember opening the box and seeing a pregnancy test and saying positive with 2 baby shoes and then having so much expectation, having so much expectation that, you're gonna have your son. As a parent, you're expecting, your child to play football, you're expecting your child to talk, I mean, right now, my number one goal right now is to have my son say, I love you. I mean, people take that for granted. People take that for granted. Their kids could talk and say, I love you. That's all I want to hear my son say. But I mean, if I could hear him say that, I'll be more than happy. He said it one time on CNN, I la Lou. He was really close, but I gotta hear it. I mean, if he says that, I've already conquered the world. Seeing your child suffer, there's nothing worse than that. There's no torture worse than that, especially every day.
Now is not the time to send a message to our young people that marijuana is medicine. It is not. It is a dangerous, illegal drug.
Is it legitimate for any human on the face of planet Earth to deny another human being the thing that will remove him from that infinite torture chamber? No, it is not acceptable. It is utterly and completely immoral.
I'm not allowed to do this because someone says I can't. And that person's never met me, they're never likely to meet me, they're never likely to meet someone with MS, Parkinson's, cancer, and yet they can have total rule over that entity's life. This is pretty much the only time that I'm going to be lost for words. The justification's still not being explained to me.
Should marijuana be legalized for medical use?
Aren't there issues of significance that you'd like to talk about? The economy, the growth of jobs, the need to put people back to work, the challenges of Iran. We've got enormous issues that we face. But you want to talk? Go ahead. Do you want to talk about
marijuana?
I think marijuana should not be legal in this country. I believe it's a gateway drug.
Marijuana is still a Schedule I drug, meaning legally that it has no medical usefulness whatsoever. And benzodiazepines like Valium and Xanax and Klonopin are actually Schedule IV drugs, even though they put significantly more people in the emergency room every year and cause even more deaths than many Schedule I drugs.
Many attempts have been made to move cannabis out of Schedule I, and they always fail.
How can the United States government claim that there's no medical usefulness to cannabis while then patenting the medical usefulness of cannabis?
It was a shocking idea that the federal government, the Department of Health and Human Services, had a patent on cannabinoids as antioxidants and neuroprotectants, heart disease and diabetes and Alzheimer's and Huntington's, and that includes cataracts and Down syndrome as well as neoplasia. It really, speaks to the depth of the problem in terms of who's making these decisions and who are they benefiting.
We need to get to the truth, which is that prescription drugs kill vast numbers of people.
Prescription drugs have a higher rate of overdose than even things that we think of as being horrific, like methamphetamine, heroin.
The number of people who are killed by heroin and cocaine is tiny, just minuscule, microscopic by comparison with the number of people who are killed every year by prescription drugs. Let's look at the facts. Let's not listen to the bullshit anymore.
Suspected drug overdoses are rising at an alarming rate in Haywood County.
And it's not illegal drugs officials are worried about, but prescription drugs.
It's being described as an epidemic. Authorities say too many young people are dying accidental deaths.
The fifth or sixth top-selling drugs in North America are antipsychotics, because we're giving out like candy now to people, including children. At Vancouver's Children's Hospital, they've had to establish a special clinic just to deal with the effects of antipsychotics on kids.
I recently lost my father 2 years ago, and we were really, really close. So it was like having, the rug pulled out from underneath me. And I started to see a therapist and a psychiatrist because I was experiencing these panic attacks, and at least 15 medications I was written. Within 2 minutes of meeting one of the psychiatrists, she called me bipolar 2 and wrote a diagnosis of it without even knowing me. What I really needed was a fucking hug.
In 2010, doctors prescribed enough painkillers to give 45 milligram Percocets and 24 milligram Vicodins to every person in the United States.
There's a huge industry creating pills for us to take.
Most of the time, they're not really anything that's curing you. They're just suppressing whatever your ailment is, in some cases making it worse.
In depressed patients, worsening of depression, including risk of suicide, may occur.
Sometimes fatal events including infections, tuberculosis, lymphoma, other cancers,
blisters, peeling rash, hives, or mouth sores,
nervous system and blood disorders, and allergic reactions have occurred.
The makers of OxyContin marketed it as a non or less addictive opiate, knowing already that this wasn't true. They simply suppressed that research. Hundreds of overdose deaths. They plea bargained and they agreed to pay fines. Well, they could pay that out of their left hip pocket. Nobody went to jail. Nobody suffered any criminal consequences.
If you read the small print, you'll find that there's side effects to certain drugs, but you've got to really get your microscope out.
I see this all the time with friends, even with peers, where they carry a diagnosis and they can't pronounce it. They don't know what the disease they have is called. They take drugs and they don't know what the medication is or what it could potentially do to their body.
All kind of pills and medicine and bullshit that they can't pronounce, making money off your ass, fucking you up with more medicine than you need.
There's people strung out on those pills, man.
Chief Medical Examiner Glenn Wagner says he's noticed a big rise in the quantity of different drugs people are taking.
This shopping bag represents one individual and the number of drugs that that person had on board. There are 19 separate lines on this one, and it goes for several pages.
People don't look at them as drugs anymore when they're legal, when they're over the counter. They just look at it as something you can buy from the store and put in your body, but it's still a drug.
Unintentional deaths from prescription drugs. One American dies every 19 minutes. Nothing comparable in marijuana. Is that correct?
Correct.